What's up, guys? Specstar here today with my co-host Shadow the Chihuahua here right now, and I have now my draft recap for the UTL League, and I have just recently drafted, and this is the team I've taken. I'm gonna go over all the mons and explain why I picked them, and so on and so on. Let me readjust this camera angle real quick. And this draft, basically, it's GBA tiers plus an extra tier 5. Oh, hello, Shadow. Are you say something to the good people? Okay, that's my little dog for you. He wants to get in the way of this. I'm not sure if he's after the mic or if he just wants me to just stop recording the video and give him attention. But he's getting in the way. Anyway, without further ado, I had the 10th pick in this draft, and this is my round 1 pick. I went and I took Zapdos. And this is not normally a Pokemon you're going to see go in the first round. Usually it's a solid round 3, round 4 type of Pokemon. But Zapdos is normally a tier 1 where it should always be. And this Zapdos was for some reason sitting there in tier 2. So I went and I snatched that big bird up. And for those of you who don't know what Zapdos does, it's a bulky motherfucker with a great defensive type. Defensive stats aren't that impressive, but with Roost and its typing, it gets the job done defensively. It's a solid defogger, a pivot, and it has some offensive potential too. So a pretty good Pokemon. I think it's an above average tier 1. So seeing it there in tier 2, I did not want to risk it getting sniped, and I just went right ahead and grabbed it. So with my next pick here, I took a Pokemon I've been meaning to use for a while. I went and I grabbed my Mega Gallade, and in my top 5 Megas video, I put this baby number 1. I think it's the top Mega in the format without unbans right now, and I went and I grabbed it. Gallade has some synergy with Zapdos in that it's definitely nice to have Zapdos, which really takes a lot of the... It takes a good deal of the physical hits, which Gallade can't take too well, but it can take a lot better than regular Gallade. Zapdos, of course, also clears hazards for it, which are nice, and all that fun stuff. It also takes on flyings, of course. So, Mega Gallade, a lot of you guys know what this thing does. It is a hard-hitting, fast motherfucker. It's got decent bulk too, so it's very, very dangerous if it sets up a sword stance, hitting 350 speed and over 400 attack on a jolly set. Mostly you're going to see a lot of setup sets with this, with bulk up and sword stance. With certain moves like Drain Punch, it has a good deal of bulk that it can abuse with its setup options. Man, I don't know why I'm fumbling my words right now, but I'm gonna knock it off. It also has some interesting gadget options such as Disable and Destiny Bond, as you see there. It gets Encore too, right? Yeah, it does. Few interesting options this Pokemon has, even screens, and I look forward to trying to put this thing to good use this season. So, with Gallade not being the best at breaking ghosts and not being the best at breaking psychics, I wanted to grab something that would make those two not a big issue, and that would be my boy Tyranitar, which of course is one of the best pursuit users in the game, and it's just going to go ahead and help me get rid of those pesky ghosts and psychics for my boy Gallade. And of course, Tyranitar, for those of you who don't know, it's the best special attacker in the meta. Hits hard like a nuke with them choice specs. Top tier Mon, very glad to grab it there in round 3, is my first tier 1. So now I wanted to grab something that helped me deal with ice, and I also wanted to grab a bulky water before the best ones were gone. Unfortunately, Slowbro got taken, so I went and I grabbed myself his brother here, Slowking. And Slowking's a Pokemon I'm a big fan of. I love that busted ability, Regenerator. This thing can, for those of you who don't know, that munches hits on the special side fantastically with 350 max special defense and 95 HP. A lot of interesting options with standard defensive sets. You can also get things going like Trick Room, Nasty Plot. You can do some fun things with this Pokemon, and if you guys have seen my most recent MLBA video, you've seen me put that Zap Cannon move to use, and I hope I can do the same thing here. So that's that Pokemon. Next up, I went and I took Jirachi, and that's because I only had one answer to Ice in Slowking, which it's a pretty good answer to Ice, but it's not enough on its own. So I went and I grabbed myself Rachi, also my first answer to Fairies, which I was starting to look weak to. And it is another Rocker, which is pretty nice to pair with Gallade. Also make sure I'm not bound down to keep rocks on T-Tar. Also, Jirachi is just kind of value there in the 5th round. And it's going to be my second and final Tier 1 here because I did not get a Tier 2 Mega to free up more points for me. So that'll be my last one here, but hopefully my last one's the best one because this is pretty good value Pokemon, normally 17, 18 points in points, so to have it there in the 5th round, it is significantly better than a lot of the other options that were available in Tier 1, so I wanted to scoop this thing up before it was gone. And it basically can do it all. You can see some bulky Wish sets, you can run some Expert Belt, special sets, Choice Scarf, Banded. This thing really can do it all, and of course another rock setter, as I mentioned. Speaking of rock setters, next up here I went and I grabbed my boy, one of my favorites, Piloswine. And is round 6 way too early to grab Piloswine? Yes. Do I care? No, because Piloswine here was in T5. For those of you who don't know, this Pokemon belongs in Tier 4. And Tier 5 was a real steal for Piloswine, and I wanted to scoop that boy up, get him on my team. It gives me my first electric immunity, which is very nice considering I didn't even have a resist before this. Makes me a lot stronger at dealing with electric types, which is why it's such a priority for me to get this thing early. And of course, for those of you who don't know, it's got a great deal of bulk with the Eviolite and a fantastic type. Quite possibly one of the top, if not the best, offensive typings that exist. Man, I'm screwing up my words here. It's one of the best typings that exists offensively, and it gets the job done defensively too. One of the few electric immunities which can comfortably take Hidden Power Ice, which is very wonderful to have on this thing. A very nice attribute for it to have, should I say. And that's going to be this Pokemon. Of course, another great rock setter for the team too, which is worth noting. And these are the remainder of my Pokemon here. Next up in the 7th round, and I went and grabbed myself a Tangrowth. Initially I wanted a Moongus got sniped, so I rushed and grabbed myself a Tangrowth before it got sniped too. With Regenerator, this Mon is just adding to my Regenerator core with Slowking. Those two Pokemon have great defensive synergy. This Pokemon is one big fat motherfucker on the physical side, and its Assault Vest set has massively gained popularity this generation, getting its special defense up to a pretty respectable number, making good use of its Regenerator ability. And it also has some stuff like Sleep Powder and Leech Seed, which it can make real good use of. So next up here, I went and I took Hitmonchan, and a big part of why I took Hitmonchan is my hazard control was very lackluster, so I went and I grabbed myself a Spinner, and not my first fighting type, but my second fighting type. This thing, basically all it has over Mega Gallade is it has that nice priority Mach Punch, and it has that Rapid Spin. So this Pokemon here was mostly just hazard control on a reasonable budget. For Tier 5, pretty good value for Hitmonchan. I went in and I grabbed this thing in large part because the people are going nuts taking hazard control, man. All the good spinners and stuff were taken. I had to grab me a Hitmonchan. And that's that pick here. Next up, I went and I grabbed myself Comfey. And Comfey is, of course, the dangerous fairy type in Tier 4 with that beautiful ability in Triage, which gives it priority Draining Kiss. And if you've watched me in MLBA, you've seen me use this Pokemon to moderate success. It hasn't been bad there. And for Tier 4, it can just be a pretty annoying Pokemon to deal with. And I have some fairly decent answers to Steel in Zapdos, Mega Gallade, Slowking, etc. And of course my next pick here, which you guys see, so there's no real secret here, Nidoking. I had some good options to deal with Steel types, so I thought it would be a good move for me to go ahead and grab Comfey, which, if Steels and Poisons are gone, is incredibly dangerous with Calm Mind. It's always nice to have this Pokemon throwing off priority with Stab. It's a Pokemon it's not the best Pokemon, but if you under-prep for it, you can put yourself in a bad position late game. So that's why I went and I grabbed myself a Comfey. It's also another hazard control, and I believe it was my first aromatherapy user, which is nice support for the whole team. Anyway, we mentioned this Pokemon a little bit here, but next I'm going to go ahead and grab myself the Tier 3 Pokemon Nidoking. And Nidoking here is going to be my first grounded poison, which is very useful. That was one of the main reasons I picked it. Also helps with my speed tiers on the team, giving me a 295er. And I didn't have many good special attackers on the team, so Nidoking helps me there too. And for those of you who don't know, Nidoking has this beautiful ability in Sheer Force, which is going to power up a large part of its special attacking moves. It also gives me a Toxic Spikes user, which is very nice because I got a lot of Rock Setters, but not too many other hazards. Nidoking helps me there. T-Spikes, very useful very useful hazard to have on the team. So that's why I went and I grabbed myself a Nidoking there. And next up here is my last Pokemon above Tier 5, and that is going to be the good boy Lycanroc Day. And Lycanroc Day, to pair with my T-Tar, has this nice ability called Sand Rush, which is going to make this thing one fast motherfucker, with the ability to get up to 710 speed in the sand. This is one fast doggo. Has a pretty decent attack stat too, 115 that gets up to 361. So it has the power and it has the speed, and Rock is a pretty damn good spammable stab attack if you don't miss the attacks, which does not always happen, so that's something to watch. Another thing that made this Pokemon interesting to me here in round 11, any Pokemon in this league can Z, which means I do not have to make this thing a Z user to get to run the occasional Lycanium Z here and there, which makes it even more dangerous in Sand Rush. Some of the interesting features about this Pokemon: Accelerock, of course a Stone Edge, which it can turn into Splintered Storm Shards, and Swords Dance, which makes it very dangerous, especially in Sand Rush, especially having a stab priority. Very good value from any sand team in Tier 4, and I was glad to scoop this boy up. Also does a little bit for my speed tiers, although it's not that much faster than Gallade. And lastly, with my final Tier 5, my bonus Tier 5 pick, I went and I grabbed myself a meme pick. A lot of the real options were already taken, so I thought, hey, what's better than one Tang? Two Tangs, right? I got father and son, Tangrowth and Tangela, giving me the most powerful regenerator core of all time. Slowking, Tangrowth, and Tangela. I got all the regenerators. So, hopefully these guys are going to put in the work. Even when my team's weakened, it's not weakened with these boys. And what is there to say about Tangela that I haven't already said about Tangrowth? Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, great physical bulk. Tangela can get a pretty respectable special bulk too within a Violite if you invest all the way that way. It's got more speed than Tangrowth, which can be valuable here and there. And it has a respectable special attacking set for a Prevo in 100, especially considering how bulky this little meatball is. And that there is going to be my team. Just to recap it here, I've got Zapdos tier 2, Mega Glade tier 1 Mega, my boy Tyranitar tier 1, Slowking tier 3, Jirachi tier 1, Piloswine tier 5, Tangrowth tier 2, Hitmonchan tier 5, Comfey 4, Nidoking 3, my boy Lycanroc Day 4, and Tangela 5. So that's gonna be this video, and as I said, no, did I say it? I don't know if I said it, but I should have my first battle up for this league. My plan is the same day. Worst case scenario, it'll be the day after because we drafted and then we threw hands right away. So I should have the video up not long after this. I hope you guys enjoyed this team and are looking forward to seeing in the season. If you got any predictions about how the season's going to go for this team, drop them in the comments before my first battle gets posted. That's going to be it for this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a good night.